relationship. This next presenter, I'm a little partial to. She's an amazing mother, amazing wife, fantastic productivity coach. Just started a productivity coaching program not too long ago at the end of last year and is already getting agents into production and graduating them out of the program already and just doing a fantastic job. It is my pleasure to introduce Amanda Bishop.
Can y'all wait while I go give my husband a kiss?
Yeah, no, they don't have time for that.
That was so sweet,
all the time in
honey.
the world when it comes to that.
That was so sweet. Thank you. I mean, a little bit mushy, but it scored you brownie points for sure. Well, hey, I just wanted to thank you for having me here. I kind of was voluntold, but once, yeah, it's like, oh, hey, honey, by the way, you're going to be on this call. But I'm really honored, actually. There are so many different agents out there right now that are killing it. And the fact that I have a little bit of your time just to share some of the things that I've learned in my past 13 years is a blessing. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
I don't know how this goes.
Well, Amanda, tell us a little bit. First of all, I already let everybody know your role as a productivity coach, but give a little bit of history of your time with Keller Williams, and then you're gonna talk to us about the proper buyer consultation, right?
Okay. Yeah, so this is my 13th year. I joined because of Brett, actually. We were engaged at the time. And I didn't really get into the business until like 2015. And we had a small team together. I was basically the listing specialist. And I've always loved working with sellers. But with this particular market, you have to know what's going on with buyers too. So kind of fast forward in 2020, Mr. Bishop and I decided that we were going to part ways, part the sea. And I actually joined an expansion team, United Home Group. And that's been going really, really well. But then that kind of progressed into doing some script work for them, doing some coaching for them, and then becoming the productivity coach for our market center here in September. So I still do a little bit of business here and there, but now I'm more on the coaching side.
Awesome.
Is that good?
So that's perfect. So you want to talk to us about so yeah, when we were working together, you were primarily listings, but as you've become a productivity coach, because of the marketing that we're in, like you say, and also because you're dealing with new agents primarily, their first crack at the bat typically in real estate is with buyers, right? Because it's just easier for them to get into the buyer activity. So you have been doing a lot from the buyer side of things. So tell us about what a proper buyer consultation looks like and why it's important.
Well, why it's important, gosh, otherwise you're spinning your wheels and spending time and really nothing coming to fruition. I think that, I'm always focused on scripts. A buyer consultation is just a long script. And knowing the person that you're talking to has always been my number one thing, whether or not it's a seller, buyer, whatever. I want to walk away from somebody I'm talking to with not just the regular things. I want a 2-bedroom, 3-bath, whatever house. I want to know what's going on in their personal world. And so the only way that we can find that out is by asking a lot of questions. I kind of feel like a broken record, but I feel like we need to continually hear this because it's something that I think that we start to forget. With a proper buyer's consultation, there are, of course, things that we need to go down the list of things that we need to do, blah, 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 lenders and everything. But asking the questions and letting them talk instead of you is key. So, gosh, you want to know like what a proper buyer's consultation will look like, or?
Yeah, well, so that's the idea. I just want to comment though, because this is something that we hear in the Keller Williams system all the time is digging deeper, right? We hear Howard talk about it, Mark Olish, Nikki Ubaldini. They always talk about digging deeper. And when I've heard you on listing appointments and buyer consultations, you're always digging deeper in the fact of, okay, why, Why is that important to you? What's your motivation? Why is that important? So that digging deeper is really key to understanding what their true wants and needs are, right?
Yeah, and we as agents and just people in general, we have to get past that. Well, I don't want to overstep my boundaries. I don't want to ask too many prodding questions because I don't want to be nosy or whatever. I think that we have there's a mental block that I have sometimes every single day, but I have to get past it. It's like, I don't want to get out of bed this morning, or I don't want to talk to certain people this morning or whatever, not including you, honey, of course. But we have to get past that. Hey, I feel like I'm intruding on their life. You kind of have to. I don't know if it was Dana or Kelly before. Somebody had posed the question of how do you get past a buyer that's not going to make a move. You've shown them a bunch of properties and then they just get cold feet. So everything goes back to the very initial thing that I said about motivation, asking questions, because that's going to be your foundation for any type of roadblock that you're going to have moving forward. So bringing that back up, you have to be armed with that. And you can't make that up yourself. You have to get it directly from that person. And buyers, we have to remember, are making a huge step. We have a lot of first-time home buyers, seniors, people that are downsizing. It's a scary process. So it might not seem so huge to us in our world because we live it every single day, but it's our job to calm their fears, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot of self-discovery in those questions too, right? Because the buyers themselves tend to have not thought it through to the point that you might be asking those questions. And when you really see the discovery is when you're working with a couple and you ask those questions and you realize that they're not on the same page or they haven't talked it out to the point that you're getting them to think about it.
So there's my counselor's chair. Got my computer bag on there. Yeah, that's absolutely true. So you made me lose my train of thought real quick there. I'm sorry, honey. So yeah, you are going to have two separate things sometimes going on. And I always ask my buyers, let me know what you must have. Let me know what you'd like to have, and let me know what you absolutely will not have. And it's so funny sometimes because the absolutely will not have is one of the first things on the other person's list that they really, really want. When I sit down, either sit down or I've been doing quite a bit of Zoom buyer consultations because the technology, you have to get used to that right now. I like to have my buyer paint me a picture. When you're pulling up into the drive, even if it's any time of the day, what are you looking at? What are you looking at when you get out? Are you getting out in the garage? Are you getting out in the driveway? Where are you going to? Where would you like to have breakfast? Blah, blah, blah. Because I think that when people have that visual of what they're looking for, it makes it easier for me when we're actually going to preview properties. This is not what I pictured at all. Okay, fantastic. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Right. And then let me know if I'm getting off course and whatever, but I did want to talk about the knock lending. I know that Kelly had kind of mentioned that in the previous session. So I had sent some information. I don't know how you guys are going to display that and whatnot, but I think that if you all, I don't even know where everybody is all at, but the state of Florida, you can get knock certified. Okay. So I became knock certified in February of 2021. It takes about an hour for a Zoom education piece, and then you take a real quick, awesome, thanks. And then you take a real quick test, and then you're knock certified. So they actually have some great marketing materials for you as well, videos. And these are things that you don't have to go ahead and worry about doing yourself, because I am not the tech person. I'm not the design person at all. That is Mr. Bishop. But have all of that stuff handy. That is a great piece that has worked for me for buyers that have kind of been on the fence. Hey, and sellers actually that have been on the fence. Hey, I've got this great program. Can I share a 1-minute video with you? And that's actually has helped people get off the fence.
Awesome. So let's get back to the buyer consultation, because there's a lot of reasons why a buyer consultation is important, right? Mm-hmm. We don't typically get a listing without a listing presentation, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't leave that listing and put it on the MLS without a signed listing agreement. And as Howard mentioned earlier, the buyer consultation, the natural ending to a quality buyer consultation is the signing of that buyer brokerage agreement. Mm-hmm. But there's other reasons why that's important too. So in this market, I have this term that I've used for years called being a Pop-Tart agent. I don't think that agents should be Pop-Tart agents. And by that, I mean, hey, I'm standing in front of this house at 123 Main Street. Can you come show it to me? Sure. And you pop up out of your seat and you run to that house and you have no idea what's waiting for you there.
And you're on the nightly news because you're,
right. So there's safety concerns. So having a proper buyer consultation, getting them into your office or meeting somewhere in public. So, you could actually get some kind of, you can gauge the security factor that you're going to have. A lot of offices require that when they come in, they're going to provide a copy of their ID because they're going to need it in the process anyway. So, there's lots of reasons, not just the obvious, but for security reasons too. So yeah, that's right, Nisi. You're on Forensic Files. That's one of my favorite shows. So yeah, there's big concerns with that. And then, so Amanda, talk to us about, once you have them in the office, what does that look like? Do you have a buyer's packet that you use?
Yeah.
Just kind of walk us through that.
Excuse me. And so, yeah, I do have them in the office. I try not to meet them at Starbucks or whatever. And I go through the mentality of learning somewhere in our system that you wouldn't meet your doctor in a Starbucks, or you wouldn't meet your attorney, well, maybe in a Starbucks, but they have to come to your office. It's not just the safety thing. I think that's a very important piece of it, but having them come in shows their motivation as well. I mean, I had it just happen on Saturday, and we're talking, I know you guys like real life situations. We're talking, I had a listing and I got a phone call from a buyer whose agent was out of the area. So could I, go show them the property? And the first thing I was like, hey, do you have a buyer's agreement signed? Are you working with these people? Because I need to make sure I'm not stepping on any toes, blah, blah, blah. And no. And of course, I take that with a grain of salt, because they can tell me a little bit anything, right? Let's do this. And I use let's do this all the time, even throughout my buyer's consultation. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and talk about ABC. But let's go ahead and come into the office. We'll go over the buyer's consultation, and absolutely being prepared. The crazy thing about buyers in general, you don't know who you're really dealing with until they come in. After all these years, I've had one personality on the phone, and then has been a complete different personality when they're in front of me. Yeah, set your standards. I actually have know your value, know your worth, and set your boundaries. That's one thing. So anyway, I do have my customized buyer's guide, and there's some things that are in there. The value proposition is huge. If y'all don't have a 2-3 sentence max value proposition, something condensed, that is like the reason why I have you here and that I want to do a good job for you, if we decide to work with each other, is because I want to blah, 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 blah. I got into the business because of blah, 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 whatever. So I normally have these things that are in my buyer's guide. I can tell you that I molded mine from the Win with Buyers series in Connect. I don't know if anybody has ever been through that class, but it's fantastic, that and Win with Sellers. But I have the timeliness of the buying process. So that was one thing that was brought on by the previous session as well. Let the buyer know how much money they're losing by waiting, right? So you said you need to be here by, and if you're not there by, what will that do? What will that ultimately do for you? How is that going to affect your bank statement?
Well,
Your
and
checkbook?
especially right now, right? I mean, we've seen interest rates go up 3 times in the last month.
Yeah.
And I don't see them coming back down anytime soon. So, the interest rate going up cost them more money too. So yeah, absolutely. That's valid.
So you have to have hard conversations, right? And ask some of those hard questions. How is this going to affect your checkbook? Try not to be intimidated by all those things. I know I had kind of mentioned that before, but now you're actually in the gist of the conversation. And I don't know how many times I have to count it at one point, how many times I go back to the motivation while I'm doing my presenting and remind me again. But you said blah, 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 and all this, that, and the other. And normally it's during the time, especially right now, that there's only a certain amount of properties available, right? One other piece with that, I would definitely make sure that when you're looking for properties for your buyer, check out the expireds, the temporarily off markets, and the withdrawns.
That's
See
one
if,
thing you've always been great at. And I don't know that every agent is aware of that type of searching for property. But
Mhm.
look at the expireds that were expired, not the ones that were expired yesterday or in the last 30 days. Look at the ones that were expired 6, 12, 18 months ago that still haven't sold. The market's in a totally different place than where it was then, right? And you might actually end up with both sides of a deal. And you've certainly gone above and beyond what a lot of agents do by going out and searching and finding the right property that wasn't even listed for that buyer.
And it's all about building relationships. So, you're building the relationship with your potential buyer, but you have to build some relationships prior to this consultation. So, one thing that is in the consultation is all the vendors that I feel really comfortable with working with, even down to the littlest thing. We all know about the pool guy and the roofer and maybe landscaping and stuff, but down to the littlest thing, excuse me. And being able to present that to your buyer, like, listen, here's all the people that I enjoy working with. I have some great testimonies. Here's their Google reviews. It just shows that you've done your homework. And, if that buyer has been with another agent or hasn't signed a buyer's agreement yet, and then you sit down with them and you're showing them all of these things that agent A had never thought to, or didn't think that was as important to the buyer, you're going to get that buyer's agreement signed, right? I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah, because you're creating that value, showing them that value that you provide.
Yeah.
So yeah, why wouldn't you want to, I think most agents have a block with getting the buyer agreement signed because they're not confident in what they're providing on their side of that deal.
Well, and the paperwork can be confusing too. Back to relationships real quick. What I wanted to mention is, if you feel uncomfortable about making a phone call to an expired or temporarily off market, whatever, call the previous listing agent.
How you doing, sir? Good. How are you? I'm good. Good to see you. You don't have to get up.
I was like, what? Call that previous agent and say, hey, I've got a buyer that might be interested in this house that you had for sale before. I'm just kind of curious. Can you tell me the inside scoop? And, if they want to, now me, I try to call the seller first. I mean, that's me. But if you feel uncomfortable with that, and then what you can do is always be looking to build your business with other agents here. I mean, you're not going to be able to bring everybody into your downline. And into profit share. But if you have a buyer and then another agent has a buyer, but you've got that great relationship with the listing agent, I mean, that's golden, right?
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. So we're giving you a little taste of the English version of what's coming up later
Is that
with
Bailey?
Nico. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so buyer consultation, you talk about the importance of building relationships leading up to working with buyers, because having all those relationships in place solidifies what the value is that you're bringing to those buyers as well, right?
Yeah, you have to remember that, one thing that I always tell my newer agents is, yes, you're going to have to do a lot of education, a lot of lead generation and whatnot, but you have to spend some time in your business with building all of those programs that are going to make your business more efficient once you start having people come your way, right? Don't ever take that for granted. It will work out to your benefit for sure, especially if you take some really good time. And we're in a business where R&D, repeat and duplicate,
rip off and duplicate.
Rip off and duplicate. Yeah. So use that, right? I mean, that's how I got my buyer's consultation, is just getting it from Win with Buyers, really. Now, today, if you don't have an electronic buyer's consultation, I would highly encourage you to do that. Have some type of a PowerPoint presentation, something, because some of the buyers, yeah, you can go ahead and mail something off or email something to somebody who lives in Arizona thinking about buying here in Southwest Florida, but the impact of a Zoom call and a PowerPoint, I mean, I would want to choose that agent that went over and above that way, right?
Yeah, well, and what you just talked about, right? That's what this red book teaches us. One of the first things it teaches us is not to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's done it before you. Somebody's already made the mistakes. So the awesome thing about this company and the awesome thing about this region and what we do on these take command calls is provide those value pieces. So rather than try to start from scratch on your own buyer consultation packet, buyer checklist, all of that, you can find that just in the sharing of information across our Keller Williams system and right here in our own region.
So page 62 of Win with Buyers is a customized buyer's guide. I have it here from my notes. Take a look at it. There's some things in here that you might not have ever heard of before. Frequently asked questions, service providers, financial worksheet, credit check requests, buyer's representation agreement. Now, I call mine my professional consultant promise. I don't like the verbiage of a buyer's agreement. So
we all do things differently, right?
We all do things differently. Yes, I'm not better or worse or indifferent. But yeah, it's my promise to you and your promise to me. And if there's one that is in, I don't know if y'all use DocuSign or whatever, but there is this one big legal one that looks like a contract and it's scary. So I would ask around. I'd be more than happy to share my buyer's agreement. I think I gave it to Ryan to have y'all take a look at, right? So make sure you do that. So during the buyer's consultation, I want to try to figure out how much time I really need to put in. I know what my schedule looks like. And I know that buyers can take a really long time. I have preferred to work with sellers because I have been in the house just the one time and I've never been in there ever again and closed the deal. But with buyers, there's a little bit more of a finesse with them. And I have to make sure, I know that we're always talking about setting expectations, but you really have to set those expectations, be confident in what you're setting, and then make sure you're going to remind them. They'll forget. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this consultation is going to take 30 minutes. hey, we're going to only see 5, 6 properties today. Hey, if I'm doing my job the right way, we'll only see less than 10 or whatever. My track record is less than 12. Would you like to go ahead and look at the properties that you really just want to be in, or maybe, I just kind of want to see? And when they say that, I'm like, you're already kind of telling me you're not going to like that property. So I try to, when you get them in the office, I mark through some of the properties that they have wanted to see before actually sitting down with me, because of that time that I took in the office, and especially with gas prices nowadays. That's just ridiculous. Right. So figure out how much time you want to spend with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So
I don't want to go around to 20, 30, 40 properties. I just, in my book, I can be doing some better things. Is that harsh?
No, I mean, you're setting the boundaries for the way that you want to do business, right? We're all independent business owners, and we have the right to do business the way that we want to do. Like, I know one of the things that you're big on is the times that you'll answer your phone up to, at a certain point, because of being with family. There's other agents that will answer their phone at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not quite sure why, but again, that's their own independent business decision.
Yeah.
The problem that you have there is when you give a little, the buyer will take a lot. And that 1 o'clock call becomes 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning.
Exactly. And unless you're dealing with somebody who's international, I think that, again, you're setting that expectation. We have more than enough people that are here in town that are up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning that I'm surely not wanting to speak with from a sound sleep. I do change my voicemail. I used to do it every single day, and that was a little too taxing, but I do change it every Monday. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know if I heard that from Gene, or I don't know. Gene Rivers, or I think it was Gene Rivers, but I only do it on Mondays, and it's just, hey, it's Amanda Bishop. I'm sorry I missed your call. It's the week of April the 25th. I can get back to you by blah, blah, blah. Have a great day. And so,
yes. So you're setting those expectations right in your voicemail. This is when I return my calls. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, just last night, for personal reference, it was what, 6:30 or so. We were getting ready to sit down to dinner, and I got a phone call. I didn't answer it.
Yeah. And you can even take it a step further and have that in your buyer's packet, right? Here are the times that I'm available. And look,
absolutely.
it's real estate. So fires come up, emergencies happen that we have to handle. So it's not a hard rule, but it's certainly an expectation and guideline that, you break if you have to get the deal done. But we're going to set the expectation like that.
Well, and it's just one of those, hey, Mr. Buyer, the reason why I am very successful in what I do is because I have standards, and I make sure to set the expectations for you and how my business is going to revolve around this, I don't like to call it transaction, this home buying experience for you guys. So here's when I will have, times normally available during the day. I'll always make sure I reach back out to you by the end of the day. And hey, by the way, what day do you want to make this of the week? Do you want to make this when I give you a quick 20, 30-minute phone call, whatever, 10 minutes, and just to say, hey, nothing's happening or something's happening. When do you want to do that? They appreciate that more.
Yeah. So in that buyer's packet that you go over at the buyer consultation, you actually have a printed set of questions, right? And you also have kind of an outline of the buyers of what the buying process is, so that they know what to expect step by step. And as you alluded to, we have these resources available to us in Command. Those can actually be created right in Designs in Command. So, you could find somebody's checklist like Amanda's or another excellent buyer's agent in your office, and you can use that as a guideline to rip off and duplicate and go make your own design in Command as well.
I would encourage people to check out, make sure you have everything in a presentable format. KW Red Store is great for folders and all that jazz, but NatGraph, NatGraph, I did not send this to Ryan beforehand, so if y'all want to reach out to me, they actually reach out to my local vendors and provide me with folders for free with the vendor information on the front, back cover, all that stuff inside. And so when the buyer receives that, hey, by the way, any of these vendors on here, you can choose from these guys. They're great. And then you get free marketing out of it too. Can you put that in the chat? Be more than happy to.
So do we have any questions from anybody so far?
They're from Canada. Oh, and she was a Keller Williams agent. I think what I'll do is I'll send her contact information to Ryan, so then when they put up this call for later, you guys can have that. Yeah. Any questions?
I do.
Yay.
I was
Hi,
waiting
Dora.
for you to go on. Hi, honey. But I'm just going to jump in. I think what you said was so important. The agents here, you'll see that they're split with, I'm going to call, or they get a call and they run and they go, or do I do a buyer's consultation? And I had an agent ask me this last week, but I like the script and I don't remember which one of you gave it about, if you're doing a listing presentation, why wouldn't you be doing a buyer's presentation, I guess, if you will. So I think that's super important. And I think people chase the money so much that they don't take the time to do this. You know what I mean? So obviously there's reasons, but there's so many more reasons.
Well,
yeah, that's an excellent point, Dora.
Yeah. And I tend to be a little bit more blunt. Now, I have to remind myself that I'm 13 years in, and I know that it will be difficult for somebody that is brand new. Let's just say that you're going through the motions, that you're in the right way of doing things, but you have that D personality calling you. I want to meet her at the property. Blah, blah, blah. I would be inclined to ask, is there a reason why you don't want to meet me at my office?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
and
good.
then shut up.
So I'll comment on that, just because our market center actually experienced it last year, the year before, and we had 2 cases in the same amount of time where there was somebody who was demanding to get into a house and have the agent meet them. And when they insisted that they meet them at the office or a public venue, the person got belligerent. And that is a huge red flag. And that agent probably just saved their life or some incredibly bad experience. Right. So that's a huge part of why. And I think that's something that we overlook sometimes as agents, but our safety is absolutely critical. And we think that we're in these safe, small communities. You know, I know a lot of our region is made up in big cities, whether it's South Florida, the Tampa area. Here in Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda, we're a really small community. But this happened right here in our community. So we're not safe from it anywhere anymore.
And, you know, Mr. Buyer, I see your hand up. Mr. Buyer, here in my experience, when I've gone to the house before, a ton of questions come up about that property that I can't answer for you lickety split. And if you are wanting to buy a property very, very quick, it is more time consistent of coming to the office so I can answer all those questions for you. And then use a life experience. I can't tell you how many times I have shown a property to a buyer when they're in the office and they decided they don't want to go in there. Wouldn't you like to save some time? Wouldn't you like to save some time?
Well, and Donata, I'm going to get to you right after this to follow up with Amanda. So the important things there is if you are being that Pop-Tart agent and you're going there, one, you don't have any of your resources with you typically, right? And 2, you're not really engaging in the sit-down conversation that you need to really do a proper wants and needs analysis in that buyer consultation. So you end up, like you brought up gas prices, you end up driving from place to place to place to place, and you have no idea what they're looking for. And like we talked about in those self-discovery moments of the consultation, they don't know what they're looking for either.
You got to
So
sit at the
it
dining
actually
room or the
saves
kitchen
time by
table.
doing that.
You have to sit at the dining room or the kitchen table to get that listing. Why
Mhm.
wouldn't you do the same for the buyer?
Absolutely. Great point. Mr. Nada.
Yeah, I have to just piggyback what Amanda, because I mean, I've been in this particular, not just sales now, but property management. It is so important that if you get a gut feeling, and I get a lot of good gut feelings that, oh, I'm not going there. This guy sounds fishy or whatever. Bring somebody along with you, because you don't know what that person's going to be like. And I had instances where I was threatened, yes, and we'll never do that again. But it's just bring somebody along with you. Don't feel comfortable about it, or if it's after hours, or they specifically want to look at a house after 5 or after 6. I don't show houses after 5 myself. If they insist, I'll make an appointment for the next morning or something, and I'll take somebody along with me if I feel that that person's not being very upfront with me.
Yeah. So you always got to keep your safety first and foremost, right? So thank you for that, Donata. Nisi,
Yeah.
thanks for posting that page 62 in the chat. So the buyer's guide that Amanda was going over, that list, Nisi posted in the chat for everybody to look at from Win with Buyers.
Yeah, and you have to pick and choose. So with my agents here, it's like those buyers presentations and things that you see on designs, they tend to be pretty lengthy. So pick and choose. And like when we talk about knowing your buyers, there's like 10 different types of buyer categories. There's your first time home buyers, current homeowners, seniors, relocators, investors, luxury, new construction, all these different types of buyers. So, I mean, you're going to have like a vague buyer's consultation, but you should have a particular consultation piece for that buyer. I mean, that's just my suggestion. It looks a little bit more concierge for that person that you're presenting it to. Does that make sense?
So again, creating that value and providing that service, right?
Because you're not gonna have a list of new builders in a senior that's downgrading, right? Like wanting to go into a condo or something.
So Ryan, so everybody knows Ryan's posting Amanda's value pieces in the chat for everybody. And that is some of the information about the knock program that Amanda was talking about and the previous panel was talking about. So, Amanda, is there anything else that you want to talk about with the knock program? Again, that's one of those value pieces that you're bringing by being knowledgeable in a program that helps them buy something, right?
Yeah. So once you're certified, they actually invite you to download their app. It was only an app beforehand where you would kind of pre-qualify your people. But now on the website, they kind of ask some basic questions for you. So you can be the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So if you want to try to list it, the knock program can work for both, right? If you're going to go ahead and list or if you're going to go ahead and buy. But the lender will buy the original property from the homeowner if it doesn't sell within the 6 months. Now, they are not in the business to buy a bunch of properties. They tell you that they don't want to do that. They'll buy it for 80% of what you listed it for. But that is a last ditch kind of thing.
Well, and if people don't know, agents that provide that guaranteed home sold, it's the same similar process. I'll get your home sold or I'll buy it. It's the same kind of thing. They're not buying it at market value.
Yeah. They will give up to $25,000 for the home to sell. to do any updates, repairs and things just to make it look more attractive for the market. And I love the fact that Kelly had mentioned too, they will pay the mortgage up to 6 months on the previous property. And that's really important to people nowadays. So I don't know about you, but being a listing agent as well, of course, I'm going to want to entertain the offer that has the least amount of contingencies. So if you're doing script practice and you're talking to buyers and they're like, I can't buy anything right now, blah, 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 you know, having this one piece of value could change the trajectory of what that person thought that they could make happen. So
Yeah,
make sure to look into that.
absolutely. Donata, did you have something else or do you just still have your hand up? Okay, that's all right. I just thought I'd check.
So yeah, any other questions? I do have one thing that I always remember too, is we all know the golden rule, but the platinum rule, treat others how they would like to be treated. I know that's hard sometimes. And we have our own values, but we're in a business of helping people, right? We say it all the time. So we have to actually do it. And, you know, I would challenge everybody after this call just to ask yourself, am I really doing everything that I can in my business to help people as much as I say I would like to?
So to that point, right? Getting your systems and models in place. And one thing you do with your productivity coaching program that you have always done, for those that don't know, Amanda came from an insurance background before she got into real estate. And the minute she got into real estate, she went right into bold. So she didn't get into any bad habits. The phone was natural for her. Script and role play was natural for her. So she does scripting and role playing with her coaching clients on a weekly basis, right? 2 or 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is super important, whether it's, you know, especially for the buyer consultations, getting that buyer packet put together and then finding an accountability partner in your market center to go through that with and real play what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Buyers are a dime a dozen. So I would certainly say incorporate video if you haven't been doing that. I know the V word has people scared. It's never going to get better until you start doing it. It doesn't have to be a long-winded thing. It doesn't have to be a huge channel or whatever. But I have a video where I learned this. Gosh, I can't remember where I learned it. Another R&D thing, where as soon as somebody from like a Facebook ad for attracting buyers comes in, and I have that automatic tag, and it starts a smart plan. See, I do know these things, hun. It triggers a smart plan, and it tells me to send my video. Hi, my name's Amanda Bishop. I'm realtor with Keller Williams. Thank you so much for clicking on my website. I want to let you know I am a real person on the other side of the internet. I'm here in Southwest Florida. I'm really excited to talk with you. So I'll be reaching out to you real soon. Doesn't have to be anything big, but it makes more of an impact than an email.
So Ryan just posted in the chat. We actually have a partner with Keller Williams. They're in the Command Marketplace called Earnest. That's something for you guys to check out too. There's a link that Ryan posted, and they work with your title company to get the money there in like 90 seconds and cheaper than going to a bank. So it's another resource that you have when you're working with buyers, especially in this demanding time is of the essence market that we're in, right?
Oh, you made me think of one thing. Actually, not back to knock real quick. They have introduced Endpoint, which is a digital escrow company as well. So they're expanding. I don't know too much about that right now, but I just wanted to make sure I got that out there for you.
Awesome. And Maite is looking for the NOC certification. We will repost that in the chat in case you jumped on and you don't see it. But if you scroll up, it's all in the chat. Ryan posted everything.
It's really knock.com.
Yep, as
And
in knock
then
on the
it
door.
has- Yep, and it has become a certified agent, and just follow the prompts. So yeah, check it out. It's a value piece that a lot of agents haven't gotten on board with, which you guys should be doing that, right? What would stop you from doing that?
Well, so I imagine for a lot of you, the 2 times you've heard it today are probably the first 2 times you've ever heard about it. So you can imagine that there's probably no other agents in your market that are offering that kind of value. So if you can offer that type of value in this crazy seller's market that we're in, imagine the possibilities, right?
We have like 204 agents in our market center, and I'm one of 2.
Awesome. So as we got a minute left here, does anybody have any final questions? All right. Well, Amanda, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Everybody that's here, thank you for your time. I know we're all in a busy market right now, and you investing in yourself and receiving the education and the tips that you're getting today is a huge testament to you and the fact that you're learning based. So we appreciate that.